I'm Nishtha Gurnani and I'm a part of the transaction advisory team at IBGrid. Before starting with the session, I would just like to give a brief introduction about IBGrid and what we do. IBGrid is an offline advisory arm of the company, India based for sale, where we provide all-in-one investment banking solutions, right from helping you with the business valuation to executing strategic transactions like fundraising, M&A, business exit, etc. Talking about the ticket size, we generally deal with the transactions with the ticket size ranging from 10 crores to 250 crores. And talking about our presence, that is IB Grid's presence, the main office is in Ahmedabad, and we have a strong network presence in 7 other cities, that is Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, Hyderabad, Mumbai, and Pune. Some of the sectors where we have been actively working upon or we are currently working. So these sectors are like engineering, manufacturing, HR tech, industrial automation, information technology, and healthcare. But just to clarify, we are not at all sector agnostic and we happily accept mandates from other sectors as well. Giving a brief introduction about our today's moderator, that is Dr. Mayank Patel. He is the head of our advisory team at IBGrid. He brings in about 25 plus years of experience in banking, capital markets, academics, and startup incubation ecosystem. Talking about his qualifications, he has done his MBA on the doctorate degree and is a CFA charter holder. So prior to joining IBGrid, he was the CEO of Startup Incubation Center, worked with several well-renowned banks as well, and has served as a faculty in various universities also. And now I would like to welcome Mr. Samir Shah, and just giving a brief introduction about our today's guest. So he is the owner of JBS Group of Companies, and he has been a custom broker, freight forwarder, and a logistician. Carrying 40 plus years of experience in this area, he has worked for all types of cargoes, served as a trainer and a mentor for management studies and staff of SCM and logistics field. Also involved in a lot of activities on policy, strategy with the Government of India and at international forums. So today's session will be all about the insights on how he got his 68-year-old company merged with the another 124-year-old Mumbai group in order to continue the legacy of a successful business. So that was all about IBGrid and our today's guest and moderator. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Nishtha. Thank you, Samir bhai, for sparing your time and joining us for this conversation. This conversation is aimed, the objective of this discussion is to help other businesses understand what kind of journey challenges they will face in possible planned, unplanned business exits. So, Samir bhai, I would like to know, and many of our participants in this webinar also would like to know, how has been your journey? How did you join this business? What was the founding of JBS Group? You have been working for this group for last 40 years. So what have been your way of evolving this business as well?
Good morning and thank you, Mayank bhai, and to IB Grid for this opportunity to interact. I appreciate the same. JBS is a family business. So there was no question when we were growing up in the 70s that what are we going to do? It was just a logical conclusion that you are going to join the family business. So around 44 years back, when I finished my graduation, I just started going to what was our own office at that time. The only difference was that my father and my brother, who was about 10 years elder to me, they were very clear that you can come and work here. But if you want to be in a leadership position over here, then you need to do a lot of other things without which you will never be in a leadership position over here. So then after I finished my graduation, I did my law, I did a management degree. I was a science student, so I learned accounts. I learned German because I wanted a foreign education. And at that point in time, Austria was the only country in the world which was teaching logistics in a classroom. So all that happened in the first 4 5 years. And Mayank bhai, the real challenge was that my father had started the business before I was born. So whenever I went to the office, I was always Samir Baba or Samir. So the real journey was how to get the existing staff who had a history with the company varying from 2 3 years to 20 years to make the journey from Samir to Samir Bhai. So that was the real challenge which I faced, but I think I overcame it by showing that I was committed, I was disciplined, I was prepared to learn, and more importantly, I was prepared to give respect to their ability, which was more than mine at one point in time. And the effort was always how soon can I excel above this person whom I want him to work under me tomorrow. So for those of the participants who are listening and are joining a family business is more a responsibility than an opportunity. And your challenge is to be able to continue whatever is going on, improve on it, but more importantly, retain as many of the staff as possible because they are the real strength of your company.
So, a business which was started before you were born, and then now you have evolved the business, you have grown the business. And I'm sure from a simple objective of joining your father and brother in mid 70s to now living the business, how do you think your personal goals of joining business, growing business, and your own goals of learning the business versus the business objective of growing in the logistics field, having establishing it as an eminent entity in the field. How has this 45, 44, 45 years been in terms of personal goals and business goals?
We must go back in history. And when you go back in history, people who knew about custom clearance in the 70s and the 80s, and at a lot of places, even today, it is considered to be a profession where your relationship management or your ability to manage a government officer overrides everything else. It's just, okay, I know how to get it done through a government officer. Now, this was something which I learned very early in my career, and this was thanks to a very senior customs officer who told me that if you want to be able to deal with us on a one-to-one basis, you want us to respect you, you have to know more than we know. We are only administrators and we know a few things. Whereas you are the private person who has to come and work with us, you need to know much more than us. So the first thing I did, Mayank bhai, was to work on my domain, which meant that I would do a lot of reading. I would go and talk to any and everybody to ask them, why are you doing this? How do you do this? When do you do this? Where do you do this? I never had any egos that I was born as an owner of this company. So first, my recommendation to everyone is you have to be very thorough with your domain. Today, I can say with pride in my own office and now even in the merged entity, I know the job of everybody right from the peon to the CEO. So that is very important for you. You may not do it, but you should know how to do it, how much time it will take, what are the problems one faces, how does one solve those problems. So that was one thing I did. Another thing is I come from the logistics sector. Now, there is confusion in a lot of people's mind as to what is logistics, because warehousing is also considered as logistics, which becomes hardcore infrastructure. And servicing is also part of logistics. So I came from a segment of logistics which qualifies for pure services. And for me, the definition of service is very clear: doing something for somebody else which he can do on his own. So the test for me was to become indispensable to my clients. So I've never had an ego to say, okay, where will he go without me? Nobody else can do the work like I can do. Let him go and try somebody else. I've always been driven by the point that I am indispensable. I need to be valuable. I need to, for him to accept me as indispensable. So that is the second thing I did over the years. The third thing I did was that I promoted competition. Why did I promote competition? Because competition tells me and tells the world how good or bad I am. Competition tells me what things I should not be doing. Competition tells me what are the things I should be doing. So I never looked at somebody who wanted to come into this industry segment as a competitor. I always welcomed the person and I spent time to talk to him or her about my experiences and my journeys, and keep on asking them about their experiences and their journeys. The next factor which I worked on was my own people. I take pride in the fact that we have very low attrition. We have a pattern in this office, what I have seen, but once a staff completes about 2.5 or 3 years with us, whatever generation he may be, I am assured that he is not going to leave me. Now, why does a staff not leave you? You have to ensure the most important thing is his respect. And second thing is you should be able to match his commercial ability with competition. So I had to continuously work on a model where I gave them respect. For them to be commercial viable, I insisted with them that they should increase their domain knowledge and their ability to work. So these are the few areas, Mayank bhai, on which I concentrated in my journey over the last 4.5 decades.
So very interesting, being more knowledgeable than the government authority, being more knowledgeable than all your employees. You know functions of all your employees, right from Pune to the CEO, and ensuring that you build the team over the period and take care of the team. These are very important aspects, and I'm sure at some stage you may have got emotionally involved also in the organization. So it's difficult to take a very important call of exiting, leaving or coming out of the business, but the business survives, the business grows, right? Business keeps on living. So how was this transition? What were your reasons for deciding to take a call that, look, I would like to pursue different goals of
Whatever,
mine?
whatever business is there, okay, whether it's a high-tech business, it's a low-tech business, it's a high-investment business, whatever type of work is being done, people are involved. And with the people, their families are involved, their emotions are involved. With any type of business, you have vendors, you have clients who get involved with you. We unfortunately were at a stage where the generation after us became doctors and took up other professions, and they were not looking at coming into logistics as a profession. Then I started thinking, what is my legacy? Or what is the legacy of my father and my brother before me, both of whom had passed away by the time I started thinking about all of this. So our legacy was more the relationships that we had created with all our clients. We have clients of 67 years vintage with us. The average age of a client with us is above 30 years. And we have ensured that we change with the times, we help them change with the times, but there is a very strong bond with our clients. And the third bond that we had was with our staff. We had over 100 staff. When I looked at the profile of that 100 plus staff, the average age of the staff with me was anything between 16 to 37 years. And they were all in their 40s and 50s. Majority of them in the 40s. So when we started when I started looking at all of this, it occurred to me that when I am not there, what is going to happen to my clients? What is going to happen to my staff and their families who are dependent on me? And it was just to ensure their continuity that I went in for this. I have been very clear with my new partners that the relationship that we shared with the clients is something which I will be able to pass on to you. It would take me 2-3 years to pass on that same relationship, but you have to maintain it. And the same thing with my staff. My staff will also have a problem in the transition, because for people who are working in a family driven company and working in a corporate world is very different. There are a large number of small differences. So the whole idea was that whatever was created by the three of us in the last 67 years, how do we ensure the continuity? So that was, and the continuity was the staff and the clients. And with the new partners, it was very clear that our brand name and logo will also continue. So within their very large corporate, they created a separate entity which uses our name and their name. So it was more a continuity, a comfort level to everybody, and to ensure stability for everyone around. Like I have a doctor, and the doctor suddenly falls ill or stops practicing. I find it so difficult to go and find another doctor. Same thing with my chartered accountant, same with my lawyer. So why would my client not have the same thing with me? That when my logistician stops working, how do I go and vendor evaluate another one? So I had two options. One is to take the entire business in this manner, or sit down with every individual client and find him another logistician of his type and get out of it. And I felt that the first option was much better. There was also a selfish reason, rather I should use the word a personal reason, that I'm also only in my early 60s. So I would assume I had another 10-15 years left in me. So how do I give back the value of my 40-45 years of work experience over the next 10-12 years? I could do that only by remaining in the industry. So we don't have a clause that I have to exit. We don't have all those clauses. The understanding is very clear that we are together for as long as the two of us want. And there is a meeting of the minds, there is a meeting of the culture. So I see it as a very long-term benefit for every stakeholder involved in the whole thing.
But what kind of preparation within the organization was required for this transition, in terms of preparing the staff, in terms of preparing the operations, finances, or taxation aspect of preparing the organization for the transition like this?
The first was convincing myself and convincing the other owners in the family but that was not so difficult for us because we are all having the same type of thinking, and we all understood the need for continuity for the stakeholders. So that is one very important area. Second is we had very clear financial understandings between all the family members. So we've never left it open. Over the last 67 years, there was complete clarity as to what is the financial stake of each family unit in the whole thing. And we ensured that it was disbursed and accounted for with complete transparency over the years. Then came the structure of the office. It took us about 2 years, but from a family-driven company, we restructured the operations, we restructured the accounts, we restructured the working, went in for a few certifications, but we created a structure where we were still close-knit and family-driven, but the responsibilities and decision-making powers were given to people. Each person was given a liberty within a box that was created for him or her, that within this box you can take whatever decision you want. So a lot of structuring is necessary. We also ensured that we didn't have any encumbrances. So we ensured that our books of accounts were as clean as possible. In case there were any disputes with our clients or with anybody else, we have traditionally been a company which believed in settling them. Okay, let's resolve them. Whether we work with each other in the future or we don't work with each other in the future is a separate story. But let us resolve them. And then there was complete transparency in the whole operations. I first did a meeting with all my staff. I called all of them into one room and I spoke to them that this is what I am thinking of doing. I am going to be there, and you must recognize that I'm not immortal. You must recognize that I can fail in my health in the coming years. So I first took them into confidence. And then I did separate meetings with that small group whom I had already empowered to take certain decisions. And then we went out to tell people that, look, this is who we are, and we are looking out for an option like this. Talking to the team members really helped me because we didn't have a single resignation and we didn't have to fire anybody. So it was more of issue ke we are all together going to do this. It was not that Samir Shah is going to do this. Yes, it was understood that Samir Shah might be benefiting financially, but we are doing this. So that's how we do it. Then even in the office, from day one, if you see, I myself wear a dual card with the names of both the companies. So I have led it by example that here also, it's now one new entity. Our staff strength has increased, our volume has increased. We've gone into a new premises, everything, but we are still one. We have a bigger, larger family, and we will continue working in the same format. So these were a few things which I think people need to decide whenever they want to do this. At a personal level, when you've been the owner of your company for 45 years, there are some minor adjustments to be made, which could be very stressful to you, which could be emotionally draining, or which could be disturbing also. Because when you're running your own enterprise, you don't have to really ask anybody, you don't have to report to anybody, you don't have to do anything. So, but here, while I don't have to report to anybody, my partners have been very respectful. They've given me a lot of respect and a lot of liberty, but I still feel that now I'm part of an organization. So that liberty of taking independent decisions to some extent has now become, I am taking this decision, but let's talk about it. And if you feel we need to change it, I am open. Then there were so many personal things which my staff would do, for my family, for my cousins, for everything. Now that all also has to stop when you have partnered with somebody else. So what I did was I continue maintaining a private office of my own. So I have 2 or 3 staff over there. So all those perks, if I can use the word, for my and my family's working continues, but it's not part of the larger organization. So these, Mayank bhai, are a few bullet points which people should consider. The last one can be very stressful, but I have not had the stress for 2, 3 reasons, as I already mentioned. One, I was very clear that I wanted to do it. And more importantly, my partners have been very respectful, and they have also understood that the person who is partnering with us is of a certain level, is of a certain experience, of a certain vintage, of a certain stature. So we must ensure that both of us mutually benefit from each other.
Right. How did this transition was taken to external stakeholders like clients, your long-held clients, as you say, 30 years is the average time a client is with you, and your suppliers, people who provide services or business take business from you. How was this transition communicated to them?
I forgot to mention that when I took my staff into confidence, before actually going out, I also took 14, 15 of my top clients into confidence. I went across and I met them, or I did a VC with them, and I told them this is what I'm thinking. I don't have anybody in mind at this point in time, but and very honestly, by everyone was, Samir, it's the best decision you can take. Because everyone was assured that I am looking at their continuity along with my own continuity. And everyone was giving me suggestions. Please take care of this also. Please look at this also. Don't miss out on this. But not a single client has moved. Not a single client has left us. And they've all been very encouraging. So besides taking my staff into confidence, I had taken my clients into confidence. And as far as my vendors were concerned, there again, with my top 3, 4 vendors, I discussed before going out, because I knew that the moment I go out, there's going to be a lot of gossip. There's going to be a lot of discussion, and I didn't want my important stakeholders to feel offended in any which manner. I also had taken my team into confidence. So if there was a vendor or a client who approached them that, look, this is what we are hearing, so they would also say, yes, it is true. We are going to go in for something like this, and we assure you that we will try our level best to ensure your continuity. So we've not stopped vendors. We've not taken in, done a decision that no, old vendors will not work. We've tried to bring all of them into the same system. So a lot of talking was done, but not only by me, but by a group within the office who did a lot of talking. But to the clients, I spoke personally, even though they were clients whom I never visited. See, I've had clients of long vintage, so I don't meet a lot of my clients. Work happens, it goes on, we meet socially or something. But I made it a point that no client was approached by any of my staff. I only approached each of them.
Right. This is very important. This kind of transition also requires involvement of professionals like chartered accountants, company secretary, lawyers, investment bankers like us. So, what do you think is the significance of the services that this kind of people or professionals provide? How important these services are from your perspective?
Uh, I'd like to answer your question differently. Uh, we were a family which was always in the public eye. I have been national president. I have been international vice president before me. My father was national president. My brother was a president of some smaller organization. So, and we have always been very concerned and vocal about our profession. We've always been on the forefront in every discussion with the authorities. You know, whether it's the ports, it's the airports, it's customs, it's the Shipping Lines Association or the Airlines Association, we've always been on the forefront. I still am part of so many strategic groups of the Government of India and so many initiatives of World Custom Organization. So we were a family which was always in the public eye. And we maintained a very good personal rapport with everybody. So when my brother passed away over the last few years, I used to receive a lot of offers proactively from people that, Samir, have you thought of something? Would you like to join us? Would you like to work with us? So I did not have to use the services of any professional for searching for a potential partner. But IBGrid really helped me with structuring it, with valuing it for me, with asking me how to remain practical, teaching me that in your negotiations, keep emotions to this much level and professionalism to this much level. They helped me structure the taxation of the whole thing because we had one partnership and one private limited company. We had the partnership which had been just reconstituted 4-5 years before, after the demise of my brother. We had shares in the company which were all rejuggled after the demise of my brother. So, you know, and so we had a slightly complex area to work over there. But I would not have been able to do all of this without good professional help. After I have undergone this transition, a lot of people are asking me that, Mr. Shah, we would like to do it. And I'm seeing the difficulty they are finding in finding a partner. I'm seeing the difficulty they are finding in structuring their own organization, because somewhere you have to be very emotionally connected to your own business and be in a position to detach yourself completely from it. That becomes very challenging, but Mr. Bhavin and Anand were very helpful in that manner, you know, and I think I could also convey to them that please tell me whatever you want to tell me. So should one take professional help, one should 100% do it only professionally. You should listen to the professional when he tells you to structure your company in a particular format, because the person who is going to talk to you has to be able to see your value, and he is going to see your value only from your books of accounts. So you have to ensure a certain amount of transparency in your books of accounts, which can be seen and noticed by other people. So coming back to your basic question, I got a lot of help. I needed a lot of help on a lot of areas, excepting finding the right partner. But that was a very special circumstances. You know, if I had not been in the forefront, then yes, I would have had to use the services of a professional in finding a partner also.
This is very interesting. So maybe another aspect is communicating with prospective acquirers. In this case, you know the counterparty, the entity which acquired your business. But how was your handling of financial or monetary value of your business? You know, there is an emotional attachment with the business. At the same time, you have to be very rational in terms of expecting rewards from your 40 years of your work, plus another 25, 30 years of your father's work also in building. So how did you kept emotions and the money part balance in this case? How did you manage that?
See, I must credit my partners also because they never use the word acquire. They always use the word merge. So that gave me a different type of respect altogether. They never use the word merge. They always use the word, they never use the word acquire. They always use the word merge in every discussion. Whether it was internal, it was external, it was the public communication which went out in the media, everywhere the word used was merge. That was one. When we started talking about the value, people value you basis your public standing, basis your public reputation. People, nobody knows your books of accounts. People value you from what they see from outside. And logistics as an industry gives you a very good lifestyle, but it doesn't give you a very big bank balance. You must appreciate this, and it is coming with all sincerity. So I took one decision that besides the consultants whom I am keeping with me, that was Bhavin and his team, I don't want to talk on valuation with anybody else. I don't want any personal advice from anyone as to what should be the value I should ask for. Then there are certain industry norms which says that your average 3 years profit multiplied by 4, multiplied by 5, multiplied by 6, whatever it is. So that was something I was already aware of, that this is how this industry is moving. So for me, I never got influenced by emotions. I never got influenced personally. We did not really have to even debate with each other on the pricing, because whatever they worked out and whatever I worked out, the gap was marginal. It wasn't a huge gap between the two of us. So all we told each other is, let's settle in the middle. Let's not debate on it. And that entire discussion, Mayank bhai, of course, with a lot of help from IBGrid before going into that discussion didn't even take 10 minutes in arriving at it. Of course, then IBGrid got involved and everybody else got involved in the structuring, in the period, in the formats, into everything. So you must, as a entrepreneur yourself, be in a position to detach your value from the value of your organization. And what you are partnering is the organization. You're not partnering yourself. If you're partnering yourself, then you're not using the word acquire. You're not using the word merge. You have to use some other terminology. So as long as you hold the ability to be able to separate yourself from the entity, you should be sorted over there.
Right. This is a very interesting aspect, but kind of challenges you face in this entire deal negotiation or transaction negotiation. How long did it took, and what were the major thing you think everybody should keep in mind?
Or the transaction didn't take long. Between them and me, we had only 2 meetings, and each meeting was less than 40-45 minutes. But that was also because there was a lot of synergy. We knew each other for so many years. Our fathers knew each other, and we were all working in the same industry. So we didn't have to really talk a lot on that. So that portion didn't take a lot of time. The paperwork took around a month and a half. There were a number of meetings of which I was not part. It was done by IBGrid and their finance team. They also did not go outside to hire a professional to help them structure it because there was a clarity on the value. There was a clarity on what the future was to hold for the two of us. The problem comes up is after the merger or after the acquisition, if you are still part of the organization, how will the partners team deal with you? That becomes very complicated. That becomes very difficult, So I did have some heartburning. I need to be honest with you over here. In the initial period, and then I had to call for a meeting with the partners to say, I want to talk about this. You need to, with clarity, explain to your team members what is my role, what are my privileges, what are my responsibilities, and what are my limitations. You need to spell them out. So then only it will become easy for every team member in the chain to understand. You also need to be able to tell your team members what are the other areas for which they can approach me, and what are the other areas for which they should approach me even though I am not part of that particular activity, because I come with so much amount of work experience and so much amount of exposure. So I did get a feeling that the amount of talking we did, both the sides, was a bit insufficient. We should have done more internal talking down the line to bring in synergy. So that is something one needs to be very careful on. It just can't be, oh, we did it like this, you are doing it like this, now we are going to do it like this, you have come here, so you have to do it in this manner. It doesn't work that way. You are hurting people's egos. You are hurting their comfort level. I am not asking you to be comfortable or let your staff be comfortable at the cost of the organization. But I'm asking you to keep them comfortable so that the smoothness of the operations continues. So that was one challenge I did face.
So, once the decision is taken to merge or get acquired, whatever the word we may use, at the very top level, one more important task is conducting the due diligence in multiple ways, right? Due diligence from the legal perspective, due diligence from the accounting, from uh, taxation. How was that managed by both the organizations?
We as a family have always believed in being compliant. Okay, so it was nothing new for us as to what is compliance per se. Compliance from tax perspective, from labor perspective, from registration perspective. We were a very clear company in that manner that we had everything in order always. Okay, and we had all of this in order for years before we thought of a merger or an acquisition with anybody. So we didn't have to really do anything. We had everything in place. They had to do due diligence, but I must tell you, Mayank bhai, they didn't take more than 2 days. Because whatever they asked, my team members could take out and put it in front of them. We were yes, that is something we need to do. Family businesses are a bit lax in being compliant. Family businesses are a bit lax in being organized. And I, as an individual, always believed from day one that there are two Samir Shahs who are coming to the office. One is the manager and one is the owner. So I could always keep that gap in my mind. So whenever it came to office processes, office systems, office compliances, client dealings, I always dealt with that very professionally without getting influenced that, no, it's my company, I can do whatever I want to. I also followed another principle, which I followed today also, that I'm prepared to do everything. So if you are working for me, I will expect that you will do everything that I do. I will never expect a staff to do something which I am not prepared to do. So coming back to your due diligence question, yes, it was already very clear in our office And we would periodically, because we had a lot of certifications, we could even establish that all this care has been taken by the certifying bodies, but you can come, you can have a look and check whatever you want to check. And because everything was available, and my due diligence was not done by IBGrid or my regular chartered accountant. My due diligence was done by my accounts team only. They had everything. So we didn't need to sort of, okay, we need to prepare the papers to show them in this manner. We need to window dress it. We need to play around. We didn't do any of that. And I think that also helped in the trust factor between me and the new partners.
So maybe, is there anything which I may not have been able to cover, which are very important for this kind of transaction, which you would like to comment or give share your thoughts on that?
That's a wonderful question, and to everyone who's listening, this is one question I ask every salesperson who comes to meet me. I never show a salesperson that, look, I know what you have come for. I always ask this question at the end of the discussion. Is there some question I should have asked you which I didn't ask you? Or is there something you should have told me which you did not tell me? So Mayank bhai, compliments for asking this question. While I do it regularly, I have rarely been asked this question. So compliments to you for having asked this question. I think it's just a summary. One, you and your family need to be very clear. Two, there will be lots of changes which will happen to you within the organization in your day-to-day dealings. There will be changes which will happen to you in your personal life also. Now, unless you can emotionally manage these things, you should not go in for it. Money is something which is always going to be relative. So dependent on your enterprise, dependent on the industry on which you are, dependent on the need of the partner, the values are going to vary. And you are going to be careful in getting the best value for yourself. So that is some area I think I would leave it to your prudence. But my only suggestion and advice, if I can use that word, is learn to manage yourself, your team members, your family members, all of them at a very emotional level, because that can be very distressing. It's like in my old organization, I could very easily tell the peon, tomorrow morning I'm coming at 8:30, you please be over here. Now, this is a large corporate with 2,000 people. So here I can't tell a peon, you come tomorrow at 8:30. I have to do a process to be able to tell him come tomorrow at 8:30. I am still going to come at 8:30 and he's also going to be here at 8:30, but I have to do something extra. So I should not feel if for my own work I have to do all of this. Yes, I have to do it. In my own company, I could just pick up the phone and tell my accounts person, make this payment, transfer this much money, do this. Here, I have to sign the paper. I have to requisition it. I have to put up a supporting. I have to give an answer. So all those are areas which can really hurt you, which can really disturb you. And I know of a lot of people, and this was the advice given to me by so many of my clients who had either acquired companies or who had been acquired. Everyone only talked to me on the personal portion. Nobody talked to me on the professional portion. Because for the professional portion, you are going to take help. You're going to take good help. You will have to pay for it, but you're going to take good help over there. But you will not find somebody who will sit down and help you with these emotional challenges that you are going to face. So you should think about them. I do remember talking about it with Bhavin and Anand, and yes, they could answer me. But that also was limited because that is not part of their job profile. Yeah, this is what I can share with you, Mayank.
there may be few questions from the participants that we have in this webinar. We have some time to take those questions. Our team will be moderating those questions. So, Nishtha and Sunil, if you can, take up that.
Yeah, sure. So if anybody from the participants has any questions, so they can ask, or either they can put it in the chat box. We will read and ask those questions to Samir sir. I would request any of the participant to please post their question in the chat box, please.
I think, Mayank bhai, you've been so explicit and careful with your questionnaire that apparently people don't have questions to ask. It's a lot.
I think we have covered a lot of
a lot of
the
credit
questions
to
that they may
you.
be.
Yeah, it's a lot of credit to you. But if there are any questions, I'm sure we'd be both happy to take them.
Correct. Right. And if there is no question, then perhaps we can end this conversation at this stage. But perhaps we can just check for a while whether there is a question or not. So, Nisha, have you got any question in the chat box?
There is a question in the chat box from Zelko. I don't have a question, but a request if we can have another. I think it's meant for you, sir.
Okay.
He says, I don't have a question, but if we can have another webinar for business acquisition too.
Sure, we will plan that.
Yeah, Arun Enterprises, how much time it took from the date of initiating the deal to close it? Arun Enterprises, it is like this. It took us about 3-4 months within the family to first decide whether we want to do it. Okay, so that was one area. Secondly, because we did not have to search for a partner in that sense, we short jumped that area. But then closing the deal, because there was a lot of clarity in our discussions, it took the teams around 2.5 months to close the deal. But I am aware of other people who have undergone these processes that it can extend to 6 months. But you should also be very firm and clear that if it is going to extend beyond 5-6 months, it's not worth doing it. That means that there isn't clarity between the two partners. So clarity is very important. Once there is clarity, you will be able to close everything very easily because there is so many unanswered questions. There'll be so many unasked questions which will come up, and they might be asked to the buyer, they might be asked to the seller, and unless you are very clear in your mind, it can keep on delaying the process. But your target should be that I will close it in 5 or 6 months. Maybe the disbursement pattern can be different. The understanding has to get over in 5 to 6 months. Otherwise, it's not worth the effort.
Right.
What is the best time to look or accept merger offers when we are doing good? The best time to plant a mango tree was 7 years back, because it's only after 6 or 7 years that the mango tree starts giving fruit. But what is the second best time? The second best time is today. The second best time is today. So it's a personal decision that you need to take. Yes, if you are just going to go in for a good valuation, then yes, you have to do it when you are at your peak. When you are at your peak, because whatever you're going to get is a multiple of that, right? So that happens. But I think you should first think of doing it if you want to do it. You should not have a regret later. You might be sitting on crores of rupees, but you might regret, okay, yaar, what did I do over here? You understand? So the best time is when you are mentally prepared for it. The second best point would be when you are very profitable. So those are the two factors you should consider. Then how did you deal with the emotional attachment to business from your close family partners? And how did you deal with being a account head of your business? See, you have to, we are a family where not a single person is a graduate. Okay, we are a family where everyone are postgraduates or double graduates, and everyone is being very sorted. And we did a lot of. We can talk very easily within the family with each other. So that was not so difficult for us when we started talking to the different family members, to the next generation, to family members who were not involved in the business, but who would feel that I have a stake to the name because the name belongs to my father. We didn't find it so difficult because of 2, 3 reasons. One is we were very transparent in the deal. So if you were part of the family, whether you were benefiting financially or not benefiting financially, you knew everything. So that was one thing we did. Second thing is we did do a lot of formal discussions within the family. Then no, this is not just a dining table discussion, or this is not just a discussion over the phone. And we live in 3 different cities and 2 different countries. So, but we did sort of formalish discussions internally. So that is how you deal with it. Change is always going to happen. If we have a sudden death in the family, we have trouble accepting it. But if there is somebody who has been ill, who has been suffering, and we know that he's going to go away, our stress is a bit less. So here you have to learn to emotionally manage it by talking about it, doing it only once everyone is convinced. And if you are the leader of the pack, you have to be completely convinced that no, I have to do this. And how do I deal with being AC head of my business? That I'm not understanding your question, actually. Nishita, if you can explain to me his second question, how did you deal with it being the AC head of your business?
Just a minute, even I have to first, because who has posted the question, it would be
In
better.
the meanwhile, I'll take Anmol Goel.
Yes, please.
Anmol Goel, see, in my case, I didn't have a choice. I'm already in my 60s. The generation after me was not interested. My brother has passed away. So for me, it was just a question of, do I want to do it in my lifetime, or I want to not do it in my lifetime? So for me, it was not whether my valuation is at its peak or it's at lower, or what is going to happen to me tomorrow. This business might grow. Now, if you decide that your business is possibly capable of growing exponentially, and you still want to be doing something like this, then safeguard yourself by saying that as long as I am in the company, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, I have to be a profit share person. Then it will not hurt you. You understand? You just, there are 2 things. One is you give away the enterprise and you get out of it and you say, I'm done with it. And then you sit outside and regret it, or you sit outside and you feel happy about it. Another is where you say, I'm giving you my enterprise. You want me. This is my commercial price. And these are my commercial expectations. So if you can match my commercial price and my commercial expectations, I would be very happy staying with you. So I would like to answer your question, Anmol, in this manner. Do you continue to get involved in the business? Yes, I continue getting involved in the business. I am, I don't have any what should I say the word, any administrative control over me. But so nobody can ask me what time I come to work, what do I do, what am I preferred. That all doesn't happen. But I have proactively taken responsibility to ensure that the transition is smooth. My new partners benefit out of it financially. Otherwise, there is no point in their doing it. You know, nobody's just sitting on funds or anything, Kichal, I'll go and distribute it. So I had a responsibility to ensure that the transition happens and the growth happens. And at this point in time, I am putting in at least 7 to 8 hours every day only on this company. So that is what I'm doing. Any other questions? I think Arun Enterprises has explained this question, which Nishtha and I were not understanding.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We can take that later also. And if there is no more question, Nishtha, we can end our conversation at this stage.
Yeah, sure.
So thank you so much, Samir, for your time and insights that you have shared.
Also, yeah, thank you, Mr. Samisha, for taking out your time and joining us today to share your entire journey with us.
No, it was a pleasure, you know, and I really love the way Mayank Bhai structured the whole thing, you know. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, and it was really grateful for us also to get a chance to, really get the insights from you and directly listening it from you rather than reading it from the script.
So, Mayank Bhai, can I take your leave? Thank you so much.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much, Samir.
Thank you to all the participants also for this opportunity. All the very best to each of you.
Thank you. Thank you, participants, for joining for this conversation. We will plan to come up with similar offerings more now. Thank you for today.